Monday, December 8th, market, and then also Stan Ehrlich. I've still got this cold I got last week, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I start out with the stock market indexes, go to some futures, and then some stocks. You remember that basically I'm looking for a top in the indexes. I had a head and shoulder earlier that week, last week. Expected, didn't develop. As you can see, for the last 6, 7 days now, 8, 9, if you want to count a couple earlier, we've been climbing slowly. This is the MES. Today's the first day that we've had a low lower than the previous day for the last week. We also have a close that's below the close of 2, almost 3 previous days. Is this the beginning of the break? That's a definite possibility. I cannot ignore this at all. Now, there's no signals, no engulfings, no overbought, no none of my normal expected. I usually talk about technical tools. It just started to slip. Go to the 1 minute chart. Came back pretty good in the last, I don't know, half an hour, 15 minutes. So not very convincing on the bearish side. But I have other evidence. You want to see that? Interest rate futures in a moment. Spider, no higher high, but Friday's high was almost at all-time historical highs, just a little bit shy. And now it's starting to drop off. This is a new low close for the previous 3 days and a new low for two, well, at least one previous day and almost two. 1 minute chart popped back up again late. QQQ. Almost finished closing that old gap that I talked about since it happened. And that was starting to talk about it November 4th, over a month ago. So, is this a head and shoulder top? Well, the timing is way off. The high of the last shoulder, which could be Friday or maybe, doesn't look very good, is higher than one would expect. Two bad things about it. Otherwise, the body parts are basically there. It doesn't seem to want to close this gap completely. If we pop up and close the gap at 629.80-ish, and all of a sudden hit the dust with a bearish engulfing, then I'm going to pretty much scream bloody murder, turn bearish. Next, QQQ, pop back up on the close on the 1 minute chart. And the NASDAQ futures contract, no higher high today than Friday, a little bit lower close, no major reversals, minor new low for one previous trading day. Nothing convincing here, frankly. And the 1 minute chart. Now, the Dow YM has a new low close for the previous 3 business days and a new low for 2 previous days, Thursday and Friday, lower than. So it looks a little bit more bearish, but I'm telling you, I really haven't got a lot of faith in these comments at the moment. If they don't work out, this is going to go up and last chance, make a double top if it hasn't already for a couple, and then go higher and higher. So this is my last stand, so to speak, as far as bearish expectations are concerned. This shoulder, maybe, or a double top. It's a cross between the two. And here's your 1 minute. The Russell can't seem to get through the highs of Thursday, Friday, today barely, closed about unchanged. Almost, I think it actually did have an engulfing day, but it's currently trading just about exactly unchanged, undecided. But most importantly, it's not above its old high back in October 27th. And that's a hugely important long-term resistance area. So it's likely for other reasons to turn down. And the 1 minute Russell. Okay, bonds broke out to the downside of a head and shoulder top that is working great. On Friday, today, the 100% of the range is below the neckline, the dashed yellow line. The minimum downside objective, or more than 112.09, is challenging lows of a month or two ago. I'm not long-term bearish. I just think that this pattern, it's working great, is going to continue to do so until something goes wrong, which sometimes happens. So I'm looking for a move down to 112.10, 112.09, period. Can't go back up above, especially on a closing basis. That's the first rule. So your risk is not super small. Yeah, profit to loss ratio is not that great, 4, 5, 6 to 1, somewhere in there. Next, notes are closing on the neckline, maybe a couple ticks below it. Not convincing. It did break well below the neckline and make a new low since early September, but didn't stay down there. And like bonds, it got oversold. So there's a reason for both bonds to rally a little below the neckline and for notes to bounce just one more time before it smashes below the neckline, like bonds did on Friday. Next, crude, just simply slipping off, no comment. Got to go. My voice is giving. Natural gas, overbought, starting to slip back, probably going to find support a little lower. Heating oil, important. Consider this a possible neckline. Possible downside objective 1.90. Shoulders are small. They're about the right, excuse me, price levels. And the timing is about right. Plus the fact some people would like to call this a broad double top. The second high is potentially a head and shoulder by itself. Looking for lower levels. Gold got overbought. Now starting to see minor new low closes for the week, for the last 5, 6 days. Not quite lower lows yet, but starting to slip off. Plus, three highs are almost exactly the same price resistance. Looking for a move down, probably to support 39.67. Silver, very, very, very overbought, and I'm very surprised it's taking so long to start to slide substantially, which I think it's going to do. Remember, it got up to super high on the RSI 88. So I'm expecting a move down easily to 55.05 and lower. Next, bearish engulfing of platinum Thursday last week. Hasn't been violated. Sideways close just Friday and today. Looking for the low of last Thursday to be broken and close below. And then we have probably a test expected at 14.91. High copper overbought, looking for it to turn down. Soybeans on Thursday of last week, just Wednesday of last week, broke out of a head and shoulder top, came up to the neckline on a close on Thursday, dropped like a rock, new low close for weeks Friday, and a nice big follow through today on Monday. Now already getting very close to oversold, already halfway down to its minimum objective, which is 1059, and sort of bouncing off a little support. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bounce and then new lows, or just straight out new lows. Next, soybean oil, minor double top, maybe. We're still quite a ways from the downside breakout, which is 49.70. If you start closing below that, say in the next week or two, then your downside objective is 46.90. New low close, but oversold. So there's a reason for a bounce in soybean meal, somewhat like beans. So both of those could bounce a little and then work its way lower. I'm still expecting 300 in meal and maybe lower. Remember, these objectives are always minimum objectives. Corn, just slipping off, not really convincing, but I think last week's high is the last shoulder high. All the body parts are there. Everything looks very satisfactory, just hasn't started to fall apart yet. Wheat, slightly lower close, getting closer to new lows. I think this is the lowest closing price by a small amount for several weeks since, well, looks like somewhere in the ballpark of late October, last 6 weeks or so. So I'm expecting this support to get broken, not hold, and the next support level around 511 or so, 515, maybe 521 to be tested. Apple Computer, overbought, 1 day down, 2 days down, 3 days down. Now already testing a little support. But there's a small gap to close, 264.5. Gaps are almost always closed. And there's another gap to close at 262.90. Those gaps I think are going to get closed. So I'm really looking for a move down, probably more than that, down to 240. Next, Tesla. Excuse me. Overbought, gap down. Maybe this is a little breakaway gap. It might get closed. Gaps are almost always closed. Breakaway gaps out of the four different types of gaps are the least likely to get closed, but they're still closed probably more than 50%. Looking for lower levels. NVIDIA. New high, but it couldn't stay there. Not overbought. Not very sure. Waiting. Next. Kind of the same situation with AMD, but I am basically looking for lower levels in both of these last two stock charts. Back to the MES. You guys have a great day, and hopefully I'll be better tomorrow and more able to provide better information. Thank you very much. Later. Profitable trading to you.